The text message came through at 2:47 a.m., and it changed everything. I was lying in bed next to Dorothee, unable to sleep like I'd been unable to sleep for weeks now. Something had been gnawing at me, a feeling I couldn't quite name, that sick intuition you get when you know something's wrong but can't put your finger on exactly what. The glow from my phone lit up the darkness of our bedroom, and I squinted at the screen. It was from my business partner, Jake, forwarding me something he'd stumbled across on social media. A video. In it, Dorothee was performing some kind of dance routine at a studio I didn't recognize, her body moving in ways that made my stomach turn. Not because of the dancing itself, but because of the way the woman behind the camera was filming her. Intimate, possessive, hungry. "Thought you should see this," Jake's message read. "Sorry, man." I watched it 3 times before I finally understood what I was looking at. My girlfriend of 4 years, the woman I'd built a life with, was performing for someone else. And judging by the comments under the video, comments full of hearts and fire emojis and suggestive language, this wasn't the first time. The woman filming added her own comment. "My beautiful star, can't wait for our private session tonight." Dorothee stirred beside me, her blonde hair spilling across the pillow like gold silk. She looked peaceful, innocent even, her face soft in sleep. I wondered how long she'd been lying to me. How many nights had she come home late, kissed me with those same lips that had been kissing someone else, and climbed into our bed without a shred of guilt. I got out of bed carefully, grabbed my phone, and went downstairs to my office. The house was one of those modern builds in the suburbs, all glass and clean lines, the kind of place that screamed success. I'd bought it 2 years ago with profits from my salvage business, thinking it would be our forever home. I'd imagined proposing to Dorothee here, maybe starting a family. Now it just felt like an expensive prison, every corner filled with memories that suddenly felt hollow and false. My business wasn't glamorous, but it was profitable. I bought wrecked cars at auction, stripped them for parts, and sold everything to repair shops and individual buyers. It required patience, knowledge, and a good eye for value. Over the years, I'd built it from nothing into something that generated serious money, around $400,000 a year after expenses. Enough money that Dorothee never had to work, never had to worry about bills, never had to want for anything. I gave her freedom, security, everything I thought a partner should give. Except apparently, she wanted more. I opened my laptop and started digging. Social media, search engines, anything I could find about this dance studio. It was called Movement Unlimited, and it specialized in what they called expressive dance forms. Pole dancing, floor work, twerking, burlesque. The website featured photos of women in various stages of undress, all very artistic, all very suggestive. The owner was a woman named Patricia Keene, 42 years old according to her bio, with close-cropped dark hair and the kind of confident smile that suggested she was used to getting what she wanted. Her bio described her as an advocate for women's sensual liberation through movement. The more I looked, the more I found. Pictures of Dorothee at the studio, sometimes alone, sometimes with Patricia. Comments that seemed too familiar, too intimate. "You're glowing today, beautiful. Can't wait to get my hands on you later. You move like a goddess." My hands were shaking by the time the sun came up, not from fear but from a cold, creeping rage that was spreading through my chest like ice water. I didn't confront Dorothee that morning. Instead, I made her breakfast like I always did, scrambled eggs with cheese, whole wheat toast, coffee with cream, and 1 sugar, exactly how she liked it. I'd learned early in our relationship that small gestures mattered to her, or at least I thought they did. Now I wondered if she'd even noticed these past few months, or if she'd been too distracted thinking about Patricia. She came downstairs around 9, wearing one of my old college t-shirts and nothing else, looking like every man's fantasy. Her legs were toned from all that dancing, her skin glowing. 6 months ago, that would have worked on me. I would have pulled her close, kissed her, maybe led her back upstairs. Now I just felt cold, analytical. I studied her like I studied wrecked cars at auction, looking for the damage, calculating the real value beneath the attractive exterior. "Morning, baby," she said, kissing my cheek. Her perfume was different. When had she changed perfumes? It was something expensive, musky, sensual, not the light floral scent I'd bought her for her birthday. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep," I said, which was true enough. "You work too hard." She sat down at the kitchen island, pulling the plate toward her. "You need to relax more. Maybe we should take a vacation. Get away somewhere warm?" "Maybe." I sipped my coffee, watching her over the rim. "Sleep well?" "Like a rock." She smiled at me, completely at ease, completely convincing. If I hadn't seen that video, I never would have suspected anything. She was good, really good. "What are you doing today?" "Usual stuff. Got a few cars coming in from an auction in Detroit. Need to process them, see what's salvageable. There's a 2019 Tesla that got rear-ended. If the battery pack's intact, I can make 20 grand on that alone." I paused. "You?" "I've got my dance class at 2. Patricia wants to work on a new routine for the showcase next month." She said it so casually, like it was the most normal thing in the world, like she wasn't spending her afternoons in the arms of another woman. "How much is that one costing?" I tried to keep my voice neutral, conversational. She looked up sharply, fork halfway to her mouth. "What do you mean?" "The classes, Dorothee. They're not free. The showcase, the private lessons, all of it. I'm just trying to keep track of expenses." I shrugged. "Business is good, but I like to know where the money's going." "God, Elmar, do we have to do this again?" She set down her fork with more force than necessary. "You know dance is important to me. It's the only thing that makes me feel alive, the only thing that's mine. Everything else in my life is about you, your house, your money, your schedule. I'm not saying you can't dance. I'm just asking how much." 200 per session, she said, defensive now. "Is that a problem? Should I stop doing the one thing that brings me joy just to save you a few dollars? Would that make you happy, Elmar? If I just sat around this house all day waiting for you to come home?" 200 per session, 3 times a week. That was $2,400 a month. Nearly $30,000 a year for dance classes. And somehow I suspected that wasn't the whole truth. "No problem," I said, keeping my voice level. "Just asking." She studied me for a moment, her blue eyes narrowed, suspicious. Then she seemed to decide I was harmless, and she smiled again. That practiced smile I was starting to recognize for what it was, a tool, a manipulation. "You're sweet to support me. I know the dancing makes you uncomfortable sometimes, but it really does mean everything to me. Patricia says I have real talent, that I could even teach someday if I wanted to." "That's great," I said, and meant none of it. After she left for her class, driving away in the BMW I'd bought her last year, I made a phone call. Terry Hodges was a private investigator I'd used once before when I suspected one of my employees was stealing from me. Turned out I was right. The guy had been skimming parts and selling them on the side. Terry had gathered enough evidence in 2 weeks to have him arrested. He was good, discreet, and didn't ask unnecessary questions. "Elmar," Terry answered on the second ring. "Been a while. What can I do for you?" "I need surveillance on someone," I told him. "My girlfriend. I need to know where she goes, who she sees, what she does, everything." There was a pause. "This is going to cost you. Surveillance is expensive, especially if you want it done right. We're talking cameras, tracking, following her around the city. Minimum $5,000 for 2 weeks of basic coverage. I don't care about the cost. I need to know the truth. The truth usually hurts, Elmar. You sure you want it? Sometimes ignorance really is bliss." "I'm sure. I need documentation, photos, videos, financial records if you can get them. Everything that would hold up if I needed it to." "If you needed it to." Terry's voice sharpened with understanding. "You thinking about legal action?" I'm thinking about protecting myself. Just get me the information. You got it. I'll start today. Give me her full name, vehicle description, usual schedule if you know it. I gave him everything. It felt like a betrayal, hiring someone to spy on the woman I'd lived with for 4 years. But then again, she'd betrayed me first, hadn't she? For 8 months, if my gut was right about the timeline. Maybe longer. The first report came 3 days later. Terry sent it as a PDF, professionally formatted with timestamps and photographs. I read it in my office after Dorothee had gone to bed, pouring myself 3 fingers of scotch before I opened the file. With each page, my world cracked a little more, like ice breaking beneath my feet. Dorothee wasn't just taking dance classes, she was practically living at that studio. Some days, she'd arrive at noon and not leave until 8 or 9 at night. And she wasn't always alone with Patricia. Sometimes they'd go to lunch together at expensive restaurants downtown, places I'd never even heard of. Sometimes they'd go to Patricia's apartment, a modest place in a converted warehouse. Sometimes they went to hotels. The photographs were grainy but clear enough. Dorothee and Patricia entering a Marriott downtown at 3 in the afternoon. Dorothee and Patricia at a restaurant, holding hands across the table like lovers. Dorothee and Patricia kissing in a parking lot, Patricia's hand tangled in Dorothee's hair. In one photo, they were coming out of a jewelry store, Dorothee wearing a necklace I'd never seen before. My hands were steady as I turned the pages. I felt detached, like I was reading about someone else's life, some stranger's tragedy. But underneath the numbness was something darker, a cold, calculating anger that was just starting to wake up, stretching its limbs. The financial trail was almost worse than the personal betrayal. Terry had pulled Dorothee's credit card statements. The card I paid for every month, the one with a $15,000 limit that I'd given her for emergencies and personal expenses, charges at expensive restaurants, charges at boutique clothing stores with names like Silk and Leather and The Velvet Room, charges at jewelry shops, charges at lingerie boutiques, and regular payments to Movement Unlimited, sometimes 3 or 4 times what she'd told me the classes cost. $500 here, $800 there, once a payment of $1,200 for something listed as private intensive workshop. I did the math. Over the past 6 months, she'd spent nearly $40,000 of my money. On what? On impressing her lover? On financing their affair? On buying gifts for the woman she was cheating on me with? I poured another scotch. The second part of Terry's report was about Patricia Keene herself. He'd been thorough. Patricia was 42, never married despite what I'd initially read, and had been running Movement Unlimited for 5 years. The studio barely broke even most months. Terry had somehow gotten access to basic financial records, probably through a contact at the bank. Patricia lived in that modest apartment, drove a 10-year-old Honda Civic, and had $17,000 in credit card debt spread across 4 different cards. But lately, her financial situation seemed to be improving. In the past 6 months, she'd paid down $8,000 in debt. She'd started shopping at nicer grocery stores. She'd bought new equipment for the studio, and she'd opened a savings account with $12,000 in it. I wondered how much of that was my money, filtered through Dorothee. Subject Keene has a history of relationships with students, Terry's report noted. Spoke with 2 former clients who attended the studio 3 years ago. Both indicated that Keene became romantically involved with them, encouraged them to spend more money on private lessons, and created emotional dependence. Both relationships ended badly when the clients ran out of money. One client, Jessica Torres, stated, "She made me feel special, like I was the only one who mattered. Then she started asking for loans, saying the studio was in trouble. I gave her almost $10,000 before I realized she was seeing someone else too. When I confronted her, she kicked me out and kept my money." I called Terry the next morning early, before Dorothee woke up. "I need more," I said. "I need to know about this Patricia Keene. Everything about her. Every relationship, every business dealing, everything." "Already ahead of you," Terry said. She's interesting. There are at least 4 other women who've had similar experiences. Studio clients who became romantically involved, spent money, got discarded. None of them filed complaints because they were embarrassed or because Keen convinced them it would be their word against hers. This woman knows how to use people, Elmar. She's a predator. And Dorothee's her current target. Looks that way. Though from what I'm seeing, your girlfriend isn't entirely innocent here. She knows you're paying for everything. She's lying about costs. She's hiding the relationship. That takes active deception, not just naivety. He was right. Dorothee wasn't some innocent victim being manipulated. She was a willing participant in my betrayal. Keep digging, I told him. I need to know everything before I make my move. I waited until the weekend. I wanted time to think, to plan, to make sure I didn't do anything stupid in the heat of anger. Saturday morning, Dorothee was getting ready for another class, standing in front of the bathroom mirror in tight black workout clothes, applying makeup. I watched her from the doorway, trying to reconcile this stranger with the woman I thought I'd known. We need to talk, I said. Can it wait? Patricia gets annoyed if I'm late and we're working on something special today. She was applying mascara, making her eyes look even bigger, more innocent. Who was she making herself beautiful for? No, it can't wait. Something in my voice made her turn around. Her hand holding the mascara wand froze in midair. What's wrong? How long have you been sleeping with her? The color drained from her face. For a moment, she looked like she might deny it. I watched the calculation happen in her eyes, weighing the options, deciding on a strategy. Then something shifted in her expression, a kind of resigned defiance. How did you find out? Does it matter? Elmar, listen. How long, Dorothee? How long have you been lying to me? 8 months. She said it quietly, looking at the floor. It just happened. I didn't plan it. I went to the studio looking for a dance class, and Patricia was so different from anyone I'd ever met. She understood me. She made me feel seen. 8 months. While I was working 60-hour weeks to keep her in the lifestyle she'd become accustomed to, she'd been building a whole separate life with someone else. 8 months of lies, of fake smiles, of pretending everything was fine between us. And you kept taking my money the whole time. $40,000 in 6 months. Her eyes widened. You've been tracking my spending? I've been paying attention. Something I should have done sooner. $40,000, Dorothee. On what? On impressing your girlfriend? On financing your affair with my money? It's not like that. Then what is it like? Explain it to me, because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been using me as an ATM while you screw around with your dance teacher. She flinched like I'd slapped her. That's cruel. You don't understand anything. Cruel? You want to talk about cruel? I stepped into the bathroom and she backed up against the sink. I wasn't threatening her. I would never do that. But my anger was filling the room like smoke. I've given you everything, Dorothee. Everything. I've worked myself to the bone so you could do whatever you wanted, be whoever you wanted. I bought you this house, that car, those clothes. I gave you freedom and security. And this is how you repay me? You don't understand, she said, and now there were tears in her eyes. Real or fake, I couldn't tell anymore. With Patricia, I can be myself. She understands me in ways you never have. She supports my dreams, my art, my need for expression. You just write checks and expect me to be grateful. Your art? Is that what we're calling it? You know what I call it? I call it spending my money on your affair. I call it lying to my face every single day. I call it betrayal. I never asked you for that money. No, you just expected it, took it for granted. Did Patricia know where the money was coming from? Did she know you had a boyfriend financing your affair? Dorothee's silence was answer enough. She knew, I said. Of course she knew. That's part of the appeal, isn't it? You get to play the rebellious artist while someone else pays the bills. And Patricia gets to be the exciting lover who swoops in and saves you from your boring, generous boyfriend. You're twisting everything. I'm seeing clearly for the first time in months. Tell me something, Dorothee. Do you love her? She hesitated. Yes. That one word hurt more than I expected. Then why are you still here? Why haven't you left? Another hesitation, longer this time. And in that pause, I understood. The money, I said. You're still here because of the money, because Patricia can't give you this. I gestured around us, at the marble bathroom, the expensive fixtures, the luxury. She can give you excitement and understanding and artistic validation, but she can't give you security, so you keep one foot in each world, don't you? You get passion from her and stability from me. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is what you've been doing to me. What's not fair is letting me believe we had a future together while you were building a different future with someone else. What's not fair is using my love like a weapon against me. Tears were streaming down her face now, ruining her careful makeup. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. You are. And the worst part? I don't think you even care. I think you're just upset you got caught. She opened her mouth to argue, but I held up my hand. I'm not finished. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me everything, every lie, every secret, every dollar you've spent. And then we're going to figure out what happens next. But Dorothee? I looked at her hard, letting her see the stranger I was becoming. Whatever happens, whatever you say, you need to understand something. We're finished. You destroyed us. The man who loved you, who trusted you, who would have given you anything, he's gone. And he's not coming back. She told me everything. It took hours, sitting at the kitchen table with cold coffee between us, the winter sun tracking across the floor. She told me about meeting Patricia that first day, how she'd felt an immediate connection, about the private lessons that became more personal, more intimate, about the first time they'd kissed, in the studio after everyone else had left, about how guilty she'd felt at first. Then how the guilt faded as Patricia convinced her that what they had was special, that conventional relationships were restrictive, that she deserved to explore this part of herself. She told me you would never understand, Dorothee said, her voice hoarse from crying, that men like you couldn't handle a woman who wanted more than just the traditional life, that you'd try to control me if you knew. Did she tell you to keep spending my money? Dorothee looked away. She said I'd earned it, that supporting me emotionally was worth more than any financial contribution you made, that I shouldn't feel guilty about using your resources. How convenient for her. It wasn't like that. She really does care about me. Does she? Or does she care about what I can provide for you? I pulled out my phone and showed her some of Terry's report, the parts about Patricia's other relationships, her pattern of targeting vulnerable women with money. You're not the first, Dorothee, and you won't be the last. She read it, her face going pale. No. Those women are lying. They're jealous. Patricia told me people have tried to hurt her reputation before because they couldn't handle how she empowers women. Listen to yourself. She's got you defending her against evidence. Classic manipulation. I took the phone back. How much money have you given her directly? Not just spending on yourself, but cash or gifts to her. Some. She had rent problems a few times. The studio needed repairs. She had a medical bill. How much total? Maybe 15,000. Maybe. Which meant probably more. Did she pay you back? She's going to, when the studio starts making more money. Dorothee, the studio is never going to make money. It's barely staying afloat. That's the model. She finds someone with resources, bleeds them dry, then moves on to the next one. You don't know her like I do. No, I know her exactly as she is. You're the one who doesn't know her. I stood up, tired of sitting, tired of this conversation. I'm going to tell you something. and I need you to really hear me. I'm cutting you off. Effective immediately. Her eyes went wide. What? The credit cards, the bank account, all of it. I'm canceling the cards and closing the joint account. You'll have whatever's in there now, but that's it. No more money from me. You can't do that. I absolutely can. They're my accounts. You're not my wife. We're not married. Legally, I can end my financial support anytime I want. I'd already checked with a lawyer, a quick consultation to make sure I understood my rights. You want to be with Patricia? Fine, but you're going to do it without my money funding your relationship. Where am I supposed to go? How am I supposed to live? That's not my problem anymore. You made your choice. You chose her. Now live with the consequences. Elmar, please. Can't we talk about this? Figure something out? We did talk, for 4 hours. And you know what I learned? You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. I headed toward the door. You have until the end of the month to move out. That gives you 2 weeks. After that, I'm changing the locks. This is my home. No, it's my house. You just lived here, and now you don't. I paused at the doorway, looking back at her. She looked small, sitting there, mascara smeared, hair messy, stripped of all her careful presentation. I really loved you, you know. I would have done anything for you. I was even thinking about proposing next month. Had a ring picked out and everything. Her face crumpled. Elmar. But that guy's gone. You destroyed him. And the one standing here now? He's just defending himself from the one who hurt him. That's all you are to me now. Someone who hurt me. I walked out and went to work. There were cars to process, parts to catalog, money to make. The world didn't stop for heartbreak. I knew Patricia would contact me eventually. It took 3 days. 3 days during which Dorothee stayed with a friend, sending me pleading texts that I didn't answer. 3 days during which I had the bank account separated, the credit cards canceled, and started talking to a lawyer about the cleanest way to end this. The email came Wednesday morning. Mr. Kaufman, we haven't met, but I think it's time we had a conversation. I'm Patricia Keene, Dorothee's dance instructor and close friend. She's told me about the situation between you two, and I believe there are some misunderstandings we should clear up. I'd like to meet with you to discuss a reasonable arrangement that respects everyone's needs. Perhaps we could meet for coffee? I think you'll find I'm quite reasonable. Patricia. I stared at it for a long time. The audacity of it was almost impressive. She wanted to meet with me, to negotiate, like I was some business problem she could charm her way around. I replied, Fine. Thursday, 3 p.m., Riverside Cafe. Come alone. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with a latte in front of her. She stood when she saw me, extending her hand with a confident smile. Up close, she was attractive in a sharp-edged way, all angles and intensity. I could see how she'd captivated Dorothee. Elmar, thank you for meeting me. She sat down, gesturing for me to do the same. Can I buy you a coffee? No. Say what you came to say. Her smile faltered slightly. Direct. I can appreciate that. All right. Look, I understand you're upset about Dorothee's and my relationship, but I think you're being unfair to her, and frankly, to yourself. How's that? Dorothee is a remarkable woman with real artistic potential. She needs support and understanding to flourish. What she doesn't need is someone who makes her feel guilty for exploring her identity. Patricia leaned forward. You're a successful man. Surely you can see that what you had with Dorothee wasn't working. She was suffocating. What I offer her is freedom. Freedom I paid for. That's a crude way of looking at it. You provided financial support. I provide emotional support. Both are valuable. Except only one of us knew about the other. You knew she had a boyfriend. You knew where her money came from, and you helped her lie to me. I helped her find herself. There's a difference. I laughed, cold and sharp. You're good. I'll give you that. You almost sound like you believe it. I leaned back in my chair. Let me tell you what I think, Patricia. I think you're a con artist. I think you target vulnerable women, make them feel special, and then milk them for whatever they're worth. I've seen your pattern. 4 other women before Dorothee, all the same story. Her face hardened. Those women are bitter and telling the truth. Here's the thing, Patricia. I'm not one of your marks. I'm not going to roll over and keep funding your lifestyle while you screw my girlfriend. That game's over. Dorothee needs support for her training. Then you support her. With your money. From your job. That's how real relationships work. She was quiet for a moment, studying me. Then she changed tactics, her voice going softer. Elmar, I understand you're hurt, but cutting Dorothee off financially isn't going to bring her back to you. It's just going to push her further toward me. Is that really what you want? What I want is irrelevant. She made her choice. Did she? Or did you force her into a corner? Patricia paused. Here's what I'm proposing. You continue supporting Dorothee's training. Just the training, nothing else. It's only $600 a week. That's nothing to someone like you. In return, Dorothee and I will be discreet. You can save face, she can pursue her art, everyone wins. I stared at her. You're actually trying to negotiate payment for continuing to sleep with my girlfriend. I'm trying to find a mature solution to a complicated situation. Here's my mature solution. No, not $1 more. Not for you, not for her training, not for anything. You want to be with Dorothee? Great. Support her yourself. See how long that lasts when she realizes you can't maintain her lifestyle. Patricia's expression turned cold. You're making a mistake. Dorothee loves me. She's going to choose me regardless. All you're doing is making yourself look petty. Maybe. But I'll be petty with my bank account intact. I stood up. We're done here. Elmar. Her voice stopped me. I've worked too hard building my relationship with Dorothee to let you destroy it out of spite. If you don't reconsider, you're going to regret it. Is that a threat? It's a warning. Dorothee knows things about you, about your business. Don't push me into a corner. I laughed. Go ahead. Do your worst. My business is clean, my taxes are paid, and I've got nothing to hide. Can you say the same? Because I've got a very thorough report about you from a private investigator. Tax evasion, fraud allegations, emotional manipulation. Want me to start sharing that with your current students? Her face went white. That's what I thought. I turned and walked away, leaving her sitting there with her cold latte and her empty threats. Dorothee came back to the house that night. I heard her car in the driveway around 8, then her key in the lock. I was in my office, going through quarterly reports, trying to focus on something other than the mess my personal life had become. Elmar? She appeared in the doorway, looking smaller somehow. Can we talk? 2 weeks, Dorothee. That's what I said. You've got 12 days left. Please, just listen. She came in, sitting across from me. Patricia told me about your meeting. She said you were cruel to her. I'm sure she did. She also told me what you said about her, about those other women, and I looked into it, called one of them. Dorothee's voice was shaking. She told me things that match what's been happening with us. I set down my pen, and I think maybe you were right, about some of it, about how she was using me. Tears started falling. But that doesn't change how I feel. I love her, Elmar. Even if she's flawed, even if she made mistakes, I love her. Then go be with her. I can't. Don't you see? Without your support, I can't afford to live. Patricia can barely support herself. We'd be broke within a month. So you're saying you'd choose me for money and her for love? Do you hear how that sounds? I'm saying it's not that simple. I'm saying I'm scared and confused and I don't know what to do. She was sobbing now. I made a mistake. I know that. But doesn't 4 years together mean anything? Can't we find a way past this? I looked at her for a long moment. This woman I'd loved, this stranger wearing her face. Do you really love me, Dorothee? Or do you love what I can provide? Both. I don't know. Does it matter? Yes, it matters. Because love isn't supposed to come with price tags and conditions. Love is supposed to be about choosing someone even when it's hard, even when it's not convenient. I stood up. You didn't choose me. When things got complicated, when Patricia offered you something exciting, you took it. You didn't end things with me first. You didn't have that conversation. You just started a whole second life and kept me around to pay for it. I'm sorry. I know you are, but sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't erase 8 months of lies. Sorry doesn't give me back the trust you destroyed. I walked to the window, looking out at the dark yard. You wanted freedom? You've got it. You're free from me, from my expectations, from my support. Now you get to figure out what that freedom actually costs. So that's it? You're just throwing away 4 years? No, Dorothee. You threw them away. I'm just acknowledging the truth. I turned back to her. 12 days. Then I want you gone. She left without another word. The last week before Dorothee's deadline, I put the final pieces in place. I met with my lawyer and drew up a formal notice to vacate, protecting myself legally. I had the locks changed, new keys that Dorothee didn't have. I separated all our possessions, putting her things in the garage for easy pickup. I closed out every shared account, every connection between us, and I made one more call to Terry. I need everything you have on Patricia Keene sent to the state tax office and to each of the women she's defrauded. Can you do that? Already prepared, Terry said. I figured you might want to go that route. She's been underreporting income for 3 years, claiming false business expenses, the works. The tax office will eat her alive. Good, send it. Elmar, are you sure? This is going to destroy her business. She tried to destroy my life. Turnabout's fair play. The day Dorothee was supposed to move out, she didn't show up. Instead, I got a call from an unknown number around noon. Mr. Kaufman? A woman's voice, professional. This is Jess Keene, Patricia's sister. I'm calling because Patricia asked me to reach out. She's willing to leave Dorothee alone completely if you'll reconsider the information you've sent to various agencies. No. Mr. Kaufman, please. Patricia made mistakes, but she's going to lose everything. She should have thought of that before she decided to target my girlfriend and extort me for money. The answer is no. She earned these consequences. But I hung up. An hour later, Dorothee showed up with a moving truck. I watched from the window as she loaded boxes, her movements jerky and angry. Patricia was there too, helping carry things, looking diminished somehow. They didn't speak much to each other. The easy intimacy I'd seen in Terry's photos was gone, replaced by something that looked like resentment. When they finished, Dorothee came to the door one last time. I opened it but didn't invite her in. I hope you're happy, she said. Her eyes were red, her face blotchy. Patricia's being audited. They're investigating her business. She might lose the studio. That's unfortunate. Unfortunate? You destroyed her life. No, she destroyed her own life by running scams on vulnerable women. I just made sure people knew about it. I leaned against the doorframe. How's it going between you two anyway? Now that the money's gone. Her silence told me everything. Thought so. Turns out it's hard to maintain a relationship when it was built on someone else's resources. I pulled an envelope from my pocket. Here. Final accounting of everything you spent in the last year. Comes to $62,418. Consider it a gift. I'm not asking for it back. She took the envelope with shaking hands. Why are you giving me this? So, you understand exactly what you threw away. What you traded for 8 months with someone who's already starting to resent you. I stepped back. Goodbye, Dorothee. I hope it was worth it. I closed the door and watched through the window as she walked back to the truck. Patricia was leaning against it, arms crossed, face hard. They argued. I could see Dorothee gesturing, Patricia shaking her head. Finally, they got in the truck and drove away. I never saw either of them again. 6 weeks later, I was in my office when Jake came in with coffee and an odd expression on his face. "You're not going to believe this," he said, setting down a cup on my desk. "I just heard through the grapevine, that dance studio, Movement Unlimited, it closed last week. Owner filed for bankruptcy." "Really?" I kept my voice neutral. "Yeah, apparently there was a whole investigation. Tax fraud, financial misconduct, some kind of scheme where she was taking money from clients under false pretenses. The instructor fled town. Just disappeared." Jake studied me. "You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?" "Why would I?" "Because that was Dorothee's studio. And because you've got that look." "What look?" "The look of a guy who just won something." Jake grinned. "Good for you, man. She deserved it. They both did." Maybe, maybe not. I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty, like I'd spent all my anger and had nothing left to fill the space it occupied. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Dorothee. Patricia left. Just took off 3 days ago with what little money we had left. I'm staying with my mom in Ohio. I just wanted you to know you were right. About everything. I'm sorry." I deleted it without responding. What was there to say? Sorry didn't change anything. It didn't undo the betrayal, didn't erase the lies, didn't restore what we'd lost. It was just a word, empty and insufficient. 3 months after that, I was having dinner with Jake and his wife at their place when she brought it up. "So, are you going to start dating again?" Maria asked. She'd been trying to set me up with various friends since the breakup. "There's a woman at my gym. Very nice, successful, just got divorced." "I'm fine," I said. "You're not fine. You're alone." "Alone isn't the same as lonely?" I took a drink of wine. "I'm actually okay. Better than okay. The business is doing great. I'm sleeping through the night again. I'm not looking over my shoulder wondering who's lying to me." "But don't you want someone?" "Someday maybe. Right now, I want to just be myself. Figure out who that is without someone else defining it." Jake caught my eye across the table and nodded slightly. He understood. Later, driving home through the quiet streets, I thought about Dorothee. I wondered where she was, what she was doing, if she'd learned anything from the disaster of our relationship. I wondered if Patricia had contacted her, if they'd tried to reconcile. I wondered if Dorothee ever thought about the life she'd thrown away. But mostly, I didn't wonder at all. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. I'd sold it 2 months ago, too many bad memories in those rooms, and bought a smaller place across town. It was just enough space for me, modern and clean and completely mine. No ghosts haunting the hallways, no echoes of arguments in the kitchen. Inside, I poured myself a drink and stood at the window looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Dorothee was living with the consequences of her choices. Somewhere, Patricia was probably already working on her next mark, her next scheme. They were survivors, in their own twisted way. But I was a survivor too. I'd survived betrayal and heartbreak and the complete demolition of everything I thought I knew about love, and I'd come out the other side harder, colder maybe, but whole. My phone rang. Terry Hodges. "Elmar, got some interesting news if you want it." "Go ahead." Patricia Keene was arrested 2 days ago in Nevada. Fraud charges, different victim. Looks like she tried to run the same scheme on some divorced woman with money. This time, the woman went to the police immediately. Patricia's looking at actual jail time. I absorbed that. "And Dorothee?" "No connection to the Nevada thing. She's clean, at least legally. Still in Ohio as far as I can tell. Working retail, living with family." "Okay, thanks for the update. You want me to keep monitoring?" "No, I'm done with all that. Send me your final bill and we'll call it finished." "You got it. And Elmar, for what it's worth, I think you handled this whole thing right. A lot of guys would have done something stupid. You stayed smart." After we hung up, I sat in the darkness thinking about justice and revenge and whether there was really any difference between the two. I'd set out to protect myself, to end the deception, to make sure Patricia couldn't hurt anyone else the way she'd hurt me. Was that revenge? Or was it just consequences? Maybe it didn't matter. Maybe the important thing was that I'd survived, that I'd taken control when my life was spiraling, that I'd refused to be a victim. I thought about the man I was a year ago, trusting, generous, perhaps a little naive. That man was gone, destroyed by betrayal. The man sitting here now was different, harder, more careful, less willing to believe in the goodness of people without proof. I wasn't sure if that was better or worse, but it was who I was now. A year and a half after everything fell apart, I was at an auction in Chicago looking at a wrecked Porsche when someone called my name. I turned to see a woman walking toward me, mid-30s, dark hair, confident stride. It took me a moment to place her. "Jessica Torres," she said, extending her hand. "We've never met, but I'm one of the women your investigator interviewed, about Patricia Keene." "Oh, right." I shook her hand. "How can I help you?" "I just wanted to say thank you. When the investigator reached out to me, I thought it would be another pointless effort, but you actually did something. You made sure she faced consequences." Jessica smiled. "Patricia pled guilty last month. 3 years in prison, restitution to her victims. I'm getting back some of what she stole from me." "I'm glad." "More than that, though. You stopped her from doing it to anyone else. That matters." She paused. "I heard about your girlfriend, about what happened. I'm sorry you went through that. Ancient history now." "Is it? Or are you still carrying it around?" I didn't answer, which was answer enough. "Look, I don't know you, and maybe this is overstepping, but I spent 2 years hating myself for falling for Patricia's con. 2 years thinking I was stupid and worthless and unlovable. You know what finally helped?" "What?" "Realizing that being deceived doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And fighting back doesn't make you vengeful. It makes you strong." She pulled a business card from her purse. "I run a support group for people who've been through financial and emotional manipulation. If you ever want to talk, or just listen to other people's stories, give me a call." I took the card. "Thanks. Take care of yourself, Elmar." She walked away, and I stood there holding her card, thinking about what she'd said. Was I still carrying it around? The anger, the betrayal, the sense of loss? Yes. Of course I was. But maybe that was okay. Maybe healing wasn't about forgetting or forgiving. Maybe it was just about learning to live with the scars. I bought the Porsche at auction. Got it for a good price because most people didn't see past the damage. But I'd learned long ago that value isn't always visible on the surface. Sometimes the best things are the ones that have been broken and rebuilt. Kind of like me. That night, back at home, I did something I hadn't done in months. I went through the box of photos I'd kept from my relationship with Dorothee. Pictures of us at the beach, at restaurants, on the trip we took to California. In all of them, we looked happy. In all of them, I looked like a man who trusted completely, who loved without reservation. That man was gone. But looking at those photos, I realized something. I didn't hate him. He'd been naive, sure. He'd missed warning signs. But he'd also been capable of complete love, complete trust. There was something beautiful in that, even if it had been exploited. I put the photos back in the box and stored it in the closet. Not thrown away, but not displayed either. Just there, a record of who I'd been. My phone buzzed, a text from Maria. "Dinner Friday? There's someone I want you to meet. No pressure, just dinner." I stared at it for a long time. The old me would have said yes immediately, eager to move on, to find someone new. The new me wanted to say no, to protect himself from potential pain. But maybe the right answer was somewhere in between. "Sure," I typed back. "Just dinner." Small steps. That's all healing ever was. I stood at my window again, looking out at the city lights, thinking about justice and revenge and the fine line between them. I thought about Dorothee in Ohio, working retail, probably struggling. I thought about Patricia in prison, paying for her crimes. I thought about all the ways their choices had rippled out, affecting not just me but dozens of other people. And I thought about my own choices. I could have done nothing, just walked away quietly. I could have just ended things and moved on. Instead, I'd fought back. I'd made sure there were consequences. Some people would call that revenge. Others would call it justice. I called it survival. The city stretched out before me, full of lights and lives and stories I'd never know. Somewhere out there, someone else was probably being betrayed right now. Someone else was discovering that the person they loved had been lying. Someone else was facing the decision I'd faced, whether to fight or flee, whether to seek justice or just move on. I didn't know what I'd tell that person if I could. Maybe that you can survive betrayal, that you can rebuild yourself from the ashes of a destroyed relationship. That being hurt doesn't make you weak, and fighting back doesn't make you cruel. Or maybe I'd just tell them what I learned, that love without trust is nothing, that generosity without respect is exploitation, and that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to walk away from people who don't value you. I finished my drink and set the glass down. Tomorrow I had 3 cars coming in from an estate sale, all classics that needed work. The day after that, I had a meeting with a potential new supplier. Life went on, with or without Dorothee, with or without the man I used to be. I'd chosen to go on too, and that, in the end, was my real revenge. Not destroying Patricia, not cutting off Dorothee, but simply refusing to let their betrayal destroy me. I'd survived, I'd rebuilt, and someday maybe I'd even trust again, but not today. Today I was just a man standing in his house, looking at the city lights, feeling the weight of his scars and the strength they'd given him. Tomorrow I'd be that man again, and the day after that, until eventually the scars would fade and the strength would remain. That was enough. That was more than enough.